What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Clubs. This is episode 79. I'm Dylan alongside Mila and Grant as always. And today we have a very special guest, a returning guest, Brendan. Welcome back to the pod. How you doing?
Thank you, Dylan. Doing good. How about you?
I'm alive. I lived to see another day. I didn't get sacked, and
Yeah,
we'll talk
better
about the
than
sackings
Ruben.
a little later. Yeah, but the reason that we have you on in particular is Arsenal went 6 points at the top at least. And we'll get into that. We'll talk about some of the issues that actually may be lying underneath the surface for Arsenal, but also the expectations going into January and the rest of the season. After that, once you leave, because like I was telling you before, if we tried to all talk about the conglomerate of garbage that happened this week while Grant was gone, it would be a 4-hour-long pod, which included Amorim getting sacked this morning. And where does United go from here? Who do they call upon to right the ship? And then also talking about the Manchester City versus Chelsea game, which seems kind of just insignificant from a Chelsea perspective. Like they drew, but nobody really is happy about it. They have a new manager, Liam Rosenior. I will mess that up later on in the episode, but we just got a bunch of crap to talk about, and we might as well kick on into it. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Clubs. I'm Dylan. Please, they just got punched in the mouth. They didn't even know how to react.
That is one Derby Diamond.
I'm Mila. Do we want to do a little prediction? That was the last time they showed an initiative to go get a fucking player.
City are still alive here. Balotelli. Aguero.
I'm Grant. They're talking a lot about you 15. How will you respond 15?
We downgraded from Peppa. Do you know how absurd that is?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's match day.
Alrighty. So, this is going to seem weird, but I'm going to have to add in Dance to all of the stuff again because he left and rejoined. So, disappeared. And he's back. Look at us. We're a pro podcast. Dance, I don't know if you've noticed, we do a predict counter. We try to guess everything correctly. I sent this to the guys before we started recording, but we predicted 16 matches in total together over the last 2 weeks since Grant's been gone. We got a grand total of 1 match correct together. And that was Mila getting a result, not even a predict, just a result against United versus Leeds. He predicted 2-2 and they drew 1-1. So thanks, Mila, for not letting us go over there. We added the super predicky in, which is if you get the predicky itself and then the man of the match on top of that, which is the man of the match that's awarded by the Premier League. So not just like FOT mobs or whatever. It's just the actual Premier League one. So I don't want to look at that any further. And Dance, you're going to disappear again for a second. And he's back. And with that, look at what's right next to his face. You should like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're a pro podcast. We do this stuff all the time. Not like we ever mess up, ever. We're super non-biased. We know our stuff. We didn't go 1 for 16 in the last predict counter. Currently sitting at 166 subscribers as of today. So go ahead, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, follow us on the social medias. And for the second to last time, Dance is going to disappear and reappear. And now we are back to talk about Arsenal. Brendan, you told us that you wanted to talk about a couple of things in particular. So I'm going to let you spearhead this segment of the show. And it started with the strike. I have it as striker problem, but you wanted to talk about, I think, one player in particular. So I'm going to let you go ahead and run the show here.
Big Victor, is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that you should give players time when they come into the league. I mean, I'm not one to just immediately be like, if it's not working out, we need to move on. Try not to be too reactionary to it. But I think there's kind of a special case with him where you can tell like he's just not up to the level. I mean, like, it's not to say that he's useless or he doesn't have a function within the squad, but to look at Arsenal, which is probably at the least like top 3-4 team in the world right now, and see him starting up top, like it's wild because the market just really doesn't have much available. I mean, like when you look at the winners of the striker market, you'd probably look at Liverpool with Ekitike. But even then, I mean, it's crazy that Isak hasn't really like panned out well so far. Like obviously he's injured, but I mean, you'd think that a player coming from the league already would hit the ground running. Like I think Arsenal will probably look to the strikers they already have for the second half of the season. I mean, I don't think Gyökeres is going anywhere anytime soon, but Arteta has his players that he trusts, and I think among the three of them, Havertz will probably be the one that he turns to for the back end of it if everybody's fit. So, I mean, whatever his role is for the rest of the season, we'll see. But I think like you could argue he's not getting the service. I mean, I think that's true to an extent, but it's the movement, it's the first touch, it's what he does when he makes his runs in the box. Like the movement just isn't great. Like aside from hold up and pressing, I don't know what else you're gonna get out of him. And honestly, like when you look at the fee that they paid for him, I mean, he's not a young player. He's 27. There's not going to be much time for improvement. I think if you were a club that recognizes that the rest of the squad is coming into their prime and you have a foundation that's really could win everything, like I don't know why you would stick with this long term. So I mean, I think the smart thing to do would be in the summer looking at maybe a Serie A club, 30 million, whatever you can get for him. I mean, I'm not saying I think they're going to do that. I think that like when you ask for a striker at that price, you're going to have to see how it goes for more than a season. But I think that that's a league that he'd do well in. I just don't think the Prem is going to quite work out for him here.
Grant, you've been a particular hater on Gyökeres from the start. So I'm going to let you kind of take the reins and bask in your glory here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say like I watched him a bunch and I knew exactly how everything would play out. But the one game that I always thought stuck with me was his hat trick against Man City. He scored a hat trick, but it was up there with like Nicholas Jackson Spurs hat tricks. Like he had a horrific game. And I just kind of thought that, yeah, he'll end up scoring goals more than likely, but similar to what he did in Portugal, the goals are against lower level teams typically. And like Brendan's alluding to, the overall performance, it's just not there. For me to like easily agree that Havertz is a better striker than you, I think it takes a lot. As you guys know, my thoughts on Havertz. But again, he has improved. I think he is trusted by the manager. Regardless of if he plays well, others will get involved. And Arsenal have a very talented team with very talented attacking players. So overall, yeah, I don't think it's really a question once Havertz is back to full fitness, and we really haven't heard anything. At least I haven't. I feel like it's kind of been mysterious, the length of the injury, but I think he's supposed to be back soon. I think he'll probably get that trust, and even Jesus, who most of us kind of wrote off in that squad, he's already seems to have more of an impact than Gyökeres. So, yeah, I think it's telling, and I think it'll probably be hard to get rid of him. Yeah, Serie A, I think a lot of players will look good there. We saw Vardy win a player of the month. I think we need to realize, along with this and the Amorim situation, don't worry about that league. Don't look at it and think the next guy's there. Be careful.
That's
other than
disingenuous.
Samu. I like Samu.
That's
Samu
disingenuous. The Portuguese league has always been a good place to go get players. That's
You should just buy. Don't you have
in
a
recent-
pre-order
you have
player
you have
coming from the
100
Portuguese
million.
league?
You have
Like,
$100
what?
million guy that just scored in a big game who came from the Portuguese league. Actually,
Yeah, like what? Also that.
The Darwin
maybe
to me, Amorim's success. the
yeah,
Gyökeres
Bruno
thing,
Fernandez,
Ronaldo.
Enzo Fernandez. Those guys don't exist.
No, they do. Those are both very expensive players. No, I just think we got to be careful over there. How about that? Should I pull
think
back a little bit? Be careful.
I think that's just a statement that you can make about any league, anywhere. Like how many players have gone to the Prem and just haven't panned out because they're not there physically. They don't have the technical skill. It's the toughest league in the world for a reason. Like guys just don't adapt well. I think
you could also say that recently the gap has widened a bit because I mean I know Darwin was a big example for Gyökeres, but I mean in the past, yeah, you have players like Ruben Diaz, even further back, Di Maria. Like there's a lot of players that come from that league, and like I mean Ederson. There's so many that like do well. It's just maybe that like now the difference in those leagues is bigger than it ever has been. So it's not that you can't find players from there, but maybe the players scoring 50, 60 goals a season there isn't going to translate the way that a lot of clubs think that they will.
Yeah, that's a better indictment. It's like that the translation.
That's exactly what I meant. You guys just need to read between the lines a little better. You know?
Sorry,
No, bro was rereading a tweet he saw earlier.
No.
Mila, have you put any thought into the Gyökeres thing? Do you think he's just shit, or do you think he's got anything to him? Like, where are you at?
I think
the fact that everyone pronounces his name Gyökeres now is pretty telling of what he's bringing. No, I don't really think he offers much right now, but I don't think it's over. Like, I think it's too quick to say that he won't become good, but it's clear that he hasn't hit the ground running. In terms of physicality, he should be able to pick it up. It looks like he's a little bit slow, lethargic, but that can come good. Like, he just needs to put in the work and stay focused. So once he starts scoring, if he starts scoring against bigger teams, I think I'll buy in a little more. I'm not convinced yet, but I'm also not sold that he's not the answer for Arsenal.
For as little as he's produced, I still have some stock in him because I think that he does the right things. Like, it's not like he's doing the wrong things. He's just not technically capable of playing in an Arteta system. Like, if he was playing for Aston Villa, how much better would he look?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think at the end of the day, though, they got him to be this title-winning striker.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily how I've seen him perform right now. So
That's fair.
I think that title for him is not... that's not the correct title. But
No.
if you just look at him as a young striker that's come from the Portuguese league and is trying to find his bearings, then I think there may be something there, but it's future talk. It's not he's not ready right now. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest point that we all agree on is that he's not ready right now.
Well, how much time does he have, right? He's 27, like Brendan said, and I think 5-year contract. I'm sure they gave
That's
him
true.
good money. I mean,
it's not like he's
if you
super
waited out
crazy
too
striker, though.
long, if you waited out too long, and again, I kind of agree with Brendan. We're just off of what I've watched. I'm like, man, I don't see any. I can't see this coming good in terms of expectations versus reality. Yeah, I don't see. If you wait too long, it'll be like a Lukaku situation, and he was only at Chelsea for a year, and we had to loan him twice just to get rid of him. So if you wait too long, I don't think it'll get that bad, but that can very well happen. So you do have to be, you gotta be a little careful.
I think it's a difference if they had ended up with C.O.C versus Gyökeres. Like, C.O.C is, I think, somewhere like early 20s, like 21, 22. So you have a player
More of a
that,
project, yeah.
yeah, if it doesn't work out initially, like, you can at least see it through for a few more years. For Gyökeres, I think he's older than Havertz. So I mean, like, if you don't have a player that adds value to the squad, you paid a pretty decent amount for him, and you just don't see a future for it. It's not something that I think clubs typically do, but I just think that you probably are better off moving on from it. And it's tricky too because Havertz and Jesus have had injury problems, but I mean, just when I look at the level of the rest of the squad, it's the best that I've really seen as like an adult watching Arsenal. Like, in the past, we've had weaknesses where it's kind of hurt us. Like in the 22-23 season, you have Saliba going down, Rob Holding comes in, there's a very clear drop off. Every player in the squad has a backup that's pretty much comparable. The only player that I'd say we're in trouble with if he goes down is Rice. Because Rice and Zubimendi in that pivot have been so good, and there's not like a clear replacement. Like, Marino can fill in, like Norgard's been a good backup signing for only 10 mil, but there just isn't like a very direct replacement for him. So it's just like, I don't know. I mean, you have three players that can all do a job there, and in my mind right now, Gyökeres is probably at the bottom of the list. I don't know where Havertz's recovery is at. He made the bench for the Villa game. But it's also like when you go to a game, you can't bring all three of them at the same time. So if they're all fit, like, it's hard to drop the one that you paid 60 million for. But I mean, Jesus is like great for the 20 minutes that he gets every game.
You can't rely on
Jesus or Havertz.
I've been down this road before. You can't rely on that for anything because he comes good for games at a time. But I just don't think he'll be the answer when you need him in clutch situations down the stretch at the end of a season.
Yeah, I don't think
that's not saying
Jesus
Gyökeres is though, but
I don't think Jesus is like this clinical talisman that can put you on your back, win games for you. But I mean, he's a part of that City team that got 100 points. I mean, he even got the one that sealed it. Like, if the rest of the team is functioning well enough, I think he can slot in well enough. But in that case, it's more until you can find another solution. I mean, there's not like an obvious player on the market that you'd look at
Yeah.
and say like
I
they're
think that's the thing too. Can you get another solution if you go on from Gyökeres? I don't think there's many options right now. That's not like a project. There's no ready players that you can bring in really to just fill in that gap. So I guess you could settle with Havertz and a Jesus, who like they've been in the league longer. They should be offering a little more, I think, in the time that Gyökeres has been there.
Only striker that comes to mind is Osimhen. I mean, I know he just signed
They're not
permanently
paying
in Turkey,
They're not
but
going to do that.
They're not.
I feel like that's the only one that can come to a Big Five league. That's really it, though.
I don't think it's as bad as everyone's painting it out to be, and I know that I made the thumbnail that you guys will see, but I like the idea that they have a profile that's different than the rest of it. You know what I mean? And Gyökeres is such a different profile than Jesus and from Havertz that's a good thing. Like, I don't think that Arteta should have just every player in the 9 that he wants, because we've seen how that goes. Late in seasons, they struggle to make space and have dynamic runs in behind. And sometimes you're not going to play on the front foot every single match. And sometimes you need a guy to just get in behind and do the dirty work. Gyökeres, while might not be the most skilled player in the world, he will do the dirty work. In that game against Bournemouth, he opened up a ton of space for 2 cutbacks that created 2 goals. And I know we won't get an assist for that, but that's a style of player that can do stuff for you in particular matches. And he doesn't do the 2 runs. Rice doesn't get the space. Arsenal don't win that match. And he won't get the credit on a stat basis for that. But if it's Havertz or it's Jesus in that same spot, I'm telling you, they're not making that run. They want to get the ball to feet. It's just a different profile. I think that it's way too early for the same reasons that I'm like not jumping on Sesko and I'm not jumping on Voltamata. Those guys have just got into the league. They're just learning it. And I know he's 27, but you got to let him at least pump into it. And he's on the team with the most pressure in the entire league. So, yeah, that's kind of where I sit. And I'm going to transition it now because I'm tired of talking about Gyökeres. And disappear Brendan, reappear Brendan. Eze has not played like in, was it 3 straight matches?
I think 3 or 4, because he got hooked at the Villa game, the first one.
Yeah, you have any insight as to why that is? Why he's not getting minutes? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Arteta values the out of position aspect of a lot of the players just as much as in possession. And I've heard from Palace fans as well that Eze can get caught out a little bit, maybe just isn't focused the whole game. I mean, he's a player that you can see he has moments where it's almost like magic compared to the rest of the squad. Like his goal catalog's ridiculous. Like he's very creative, he's very tricky. Like he has all of these great attributes, but he doesn't track Matty Cash for the first goal against Villa. Comes off at halftime and he hasn't played a minute since then. So you don't know how training's been going. You don't know what the conversations have been, but I think it's clear that Arteta needs to trust his players to do the defensive work, and that's why like you'll see like a Martinelli or a Trossard coming all the way back by the left back, like just filling in where they need to, especially when they're up. Like I don't know. I mean, I would like to see Eze get out there more because he's a very exciting player, but I think the reasoning behind not playing him is the very least is a clue from the Villa game.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like a Pep disciple if I've ever heard one, right? Like in terms of what the narrative around Pep Guardiola is. Mila, like that does that not kind of ring some bells to stuff that you've talked about or heard from the same Pep kind of arguments?
I mean, yeah. To simplify this, it just sounds like he's not working hard enough off the ball. You're not going to play. Especially in these systems where they need to do pressing and they need to maintain shape. You have to do the off-the-ball stuff. I think Cherky's a good example of that too. They said he couldn't do that stuff, and I see him running his ass off every game. So if he's not doing the little things off the ball, I could totally see Arteta just trying to prove a point.
Another thing too is where he's gonna play, because I mean Trossard and Odegaard have been in great form. I mean, Eze's more typically been used through the middle so far when Odegaard was injured, but I mean, when he came in, I really thought that the left wing would be there for the taking because Martinelli hadn't had the best season. Trossard had kind of been in and out of the team. Like it seemed like that was the most obvious spot that he could fill in for. But he's not a true winger. I mean, I think he looked good when he was out there. So, I mean, it's not surprising to me that he hasn't been starting for the past few games, but not even coming off the bench, it's a little bit concerning. I mean, you also don't want to throw in an attacking player when you're up in some of those games, so it could just be tactical. But I don't know. I'd be hopeful to see him out on the left sometimes, like a front three of Eze, Havertz, Saka. I think would look pretty good. Just have to see what comes out of it in the future.
Yeah, Grant, do you kind of share that sentiment that you think that he's just not playing for tactical reasons, or do you think it could be deeper than that?
No, I think, yeah, I mean, I remember that first goal Matty Cash scored, yeah, Eze completely falls asleep, and in a team like Arsenal, it's really unacceptable. I mean, bar the Spurs game, and I feel like Spurs are one of those teams, you got to take your performances against them with a grain of salt right now. Eze was unbelievable, scored a very, very good hat trick, but I mean, bar that, it's been a slow start for him. I think he had a good run of form at some point, as far as I remember, but I think once you're already kind of whatever in terms of your performances, and then you're not doing the work out of possession, it's like, okay, yeah, we can't even afford to play you right now. So I really think that's what it is. Maybe it's the lesson he has to learn, right? Because again, 27 years old, was the star at his team for a few years now. So it's almost like you got to fall in line sort of situation in simple terms.
Yeah, it's a tough system. Arteta's system is just as complex, just as complicated as a Pep one, right? And for a player that, like you guys were saying, has not played to that level, it's difficult. I don't really have a lot to say on this because I haven't watched a ton of Arsenal recently, but I think he's kind of just going with the hot hand, right? Odegaard's been great, and he's been one of your leaders. So why would you not play Odegaard, right? And that's the position I see him. I don't see him playing on the left. It's been pretty Trossard heavy there, and if not Trossard, he's played Noni or Martinelli. So I just don't. I see him only playing in the 10 from here on out, and as long as he's got the hot hand, it kind of feels like Odegaard's going to stay there. And that's what it should be, right? Like, that's what Pep did during runs. Like, whoever's the hottest player at that moment, they're going to play, and they should. That's what you do when you're trying to win titles. And if that player gets cold, you put in the next guy and you see if he can get you a spark. And then if he does, you're constant. That's the whole point of depth, right? Is if you can constantly be in form at all times. Because no player is going to go through an entire season being like a top 5 player in the world. It just won't happen. So, anyways, form continued. I had to kick him out to get him back in here. Dance, I'm going to start with your expectation for the rest of the year, and then we can talk about the January window as it comes to Arsenal, because I don't know if you guys ever spend in this window. So let's start with the basics. What are your rest of season expectations for your club?
I think two trophies this year. This is, I think they're first in the Champions League group. I mean, we know it doesn't mean much. Liverpool topped it and then lost to PSG last year. I mean, I think that the Prem, they're probably in the best shape they've been for it. I know they've had bigger leads in the past, but I think that where their squad is at compared to where City's is in the past, I think that it's the strongest that they've had. Like, there's 6 points. It's not huge, but I mean, I do expect them to be more consistent throughout the back end of the season than they have been in the past. I think that the goals are kind of coming from everywhere. Like, there's not, as I said before, aside from Rice, there's not one player that they went down, and I think it's like the end of the world for them. Like, they have very good cover. So I think the Prem is like the big one that they will be looking at, that they'll probably really want to win, probably even more than the Champions League, just because of how close they've come. And then I think, I mean, when you have a squad like this, I mean, I know they might not put as much stock in like a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup just because of how much they've won it in the past, but I mean, I think they should be competing on all fronts. Like, if the Prem is one that they can get over the line, I think an extra trophy would be I mean, just great for the narrative that they've had to deal with for the past few years about they can't get it done. I mean, obviously, if it's just an FA Cup and a Carabao, they'll still get some criticism for not getting over the line in the big competitions. But I think like a big competition, a minor one, just getting at the very least, just one big one over the line. I think that's where the team is at, and that's like what the expectation should be at this point in the project.
Yeah, I would say that if there is no trophy, I will go back to the first point I made before we did, or when we did our Arsenal preview, which is I think he gets sacked. Because if right now the position that you're in for all the competitions is one of which you should, or if not, get a trophy. So if you don't get a Premier League or a Champions League or an FA Cup, or at the very minimum, a Carabao Cup, the expectation compared to where the drop off will be, the noise will be too loud. And as much as Arteta has been a great manager, and this has probably been his best season in totality with the injuries and all the stuff that's happened, they've built a group that is good enough to win something. And if they don't win something, I think it becomes scary in that sense. And we've talked about, I think, losing in certain fashions can leave a real bitter taste in people's mouths. And the overreaction, I think, will be too loud. Do you see that? Or you think even if worst case scenario, the opposite of winning 2 trophies in this season, you win no trophies, do you think that he potentially gets sacked, or if that's even on the table?
I don't think it's on the table. I think the public perception of Arteta and the internal perception of him at Arsenal is vastly different, and I think there's almost nothing that he could do to get sacked at this point. Like the
Interesting.
only thing I could see him doing this season, which isn't even like barely possible, is if he missed Champions League, which when you extend that
Oh.
to 5 teams out, like I think it would have to be a ridiculous turn of form for him to get fired. Like it's also because like even if he hasn't been able to get over the line, he's losing to like very good teams and very good projects. I mean, initially competing with Pep with a squad that he had no business competing with him, like back in 22, 23. Like there's been pretty much a steady progression throughout the entire project. And to me, it just doesn't make sense to take the guy who built all of that and just tell him that he's not good enough, even if it's another year. Like I think that it would be disappointing, but you also have to look at like who's available. Who would you even replace him with? Like I think that Arsenal aren't really like a traditionally like trigger happy club when it comes to managers. And I think that like I prefer that when I look at, I mean, you guys are gonna get on to Chelsea and United later, but I mean I don't think it's the solution that a lot of people think it would. Like I know Arsenal fans might be in that camp with you a little bit, like at least some of them if Arsenal doesn't get over the line, but internally at the club, I think there's almost nothing that can happen. I mean, worst case would be like they get realistic worst case, they get second place in the league, they go out in like quarterfinals of the Champions League. They don't win either of the domestic cups, and I don't think he would be sacked. Like maybe if it's another year, two or three of something like that, then you look at that and say, well, we're running out of time. But right now, I mean, like he's the spearhead of that project. He built it. It doesn't make sense to me to take it away if because also if they lose, it's probably also because City will go on this like incredible run. And if you're still getting like 90 points a season, somewhere around there, and it's still not enough, then I don't know. Sometimes you just have to hold your hand up and say, like, we'll go again next year.
I just don't know how many years you can do that. You know what I mean? And you're probably right. Like the credit in the bank that he has at Arsenal is really high. It probably should stay that way. So let's go back to what the current trajectory is, which is trophies and being top of tables and stuff like that. January is here. Do you expect there to be any movement? Do you expect them to go and get anybody? Is this a place where Arsenal can be active in this window? Like I said, I don't think they normally are, but do you think because of how close you are, they end up making a move?
I don't think they would. I expect almost nothing to go on. I mean, up until this season, they've always had a bit of an issue with dead weight as well, with players they have to get out. But even now, I mean, I think every player in the squad adds some value. The only thing I could maybe see is a loan going out for like Ethan Wanyeri. I mean, we're talking about Eze getting no minutes, but because of the depth, I mean, Ethan can barely get on the bench, so maybe something small like that. But I mean, there's no obvious player that would need to come in. I think like if something comes up, they might look at an option in the market, but I think it's not like they have to. I don't think there'll be any panic buys. The one that I know a lot of Arsenal fans initially at least were interested in was Semenyo, and it's tough that he's going to go to a rival as well. But I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say there's anybody that they need to go out and get.
Yeah, no. I would pose this question to Mila and Grant, but they're your biggest haters, so that's just not gonna. It's not gonna work like that. I mean, do you guys think they should go sign anyone? Do they have a hole that you wish
I think
they would fill?
Brennan's right in that sense, especially with the depth. I don't think they really need to go get anyone. I guess the only person that would make sense would be a striker, but they're not going to go do that after just spending money on a striker, and it's only been 6 months, 5 months. So, yeah, I don't see them spending anything this window.
Yeah, I thought Semenyo was surefire to potential. I thought the race when it was first announced was going to be between Liverpool and Arsenal because that was the whole was like a left winger, and he has been playing there for Bournemouth, and we talked about him kind of being a jack of all trades, where that could be a striker, right? It made a lot of sense, and he was an Arsenal fan growing up. There's been interviews, and I thought this is almost the perfect signing for Arsenal, but I also thought that Gyökeres was the perfect signing, and that hasn't necessarily panned out either because Arteta, in particular, doesn't necessarily love that style of player. That direct, not necessarily like perfect mold on the ball player. Like it doesn't fit in his system. Like him compared to Trossard is almost night and day different. So I don't know. You're right. They probably don't do any movement. They kind of stay pat. But you guys are in such a good spot with the depth that you have that I don't think it's necessary.
Even for the summer at this point, I think that there isn't this like glaring hole in the squad. You almost would look at only probably left wing, striker, maybe attacking mid. I mean, it depends on Odegaard's form because seems like he's back to it. But I think for those attacking positions, when you look at them, the certain games where they struggle with creativity, you're not just looking to just bring in someone just to have an extra player, which is what it has been before for backup. I think at this point you're looking at you need like an actual game breaker. Like if someone like a Rodrigo is available on the market, somewhere where you could actually see the level being raised significantly. I think that those are the only players that you'd really be looking at. Because I mean, I don't know, in the Champions League, you never know what's going to happen. There's still some very strong squads out there. The PSG squad, the Bayern squad. It might be tricky in the latter stages of that tournament. So I think that those are the games where you might need these like big players that can like handle the pressure. But for now in the Premier League, at least, I wouldn't expect them to be looking at anything specific.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the left winger, that game-changing game breaker style, right? Because you've got Saka on the right. If you were to get a Rodrigo or someone of that mold, you make yourself a little more dangerous. But I am so fucking tired of talking about your shitty team and all things Arsenal. But I do appreciate you coming on and spewing your 2026 propaganda. I do want to give a quick shout out to Facundo because he's usually our resident Arsenal fan. But if you've watched this pod, if you watch this pod, he is not allowed to fucking come on unless Arsenal drop points. It is written in the stars. It's written in all the rules. He only comes on if Arsenal drop points.
Might be a while then.
No, it's happening. I
This
wanted to say
week?
next week.
Get me on
This
the
is-
predicky. I'll say 2-0 this weekend. I think
your man
I
of the
think
match, too.
this week. I don't think Liverpool are strong right now.
Oh, who's your man of the match?
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice. Mila?
Just sprung this on me.
Yeah.
Liverpool 2-1.
Man of the match?
For the memes, it's got to be Florian Wirtz.
Of course. Sick bastard. Grant.
How funny would that be?
I would not appreciate.
I'm gonna have to go against my heart, and it's gonna be 2-0 Arsenal. Gabriel, man of the match. Another goal.
He gave 2 goals up to Bournemouth, but I am gonna root for Arsenal in this one because I'm not rooting for those Scouse bastards ever. It'll never happen. I'll go 3-1 Arsenal and a man of the match for the guy who's probably not going to start Victor Gyökeres. For the same reasons that Mila has Florian Squirts, I'm going to pick Gyökeres as my man of the match.
So this is why you guys have not in the super predicky column. There's none over there.
Well, we had
Just
to add
ordered
the super predicky in because I finally got one, and we were like, that has to be rewarded, but doesn't count yet. And this is
That's
the time
right.
that it counts. 3-1 Gyökeres.
Gross.
All right. Well, Dance, we'll leave it there. We want to appreciate your time and thank you for coming on. If you want to plug any socials you've got, or you want to say your final prayer upon Arsenal before leaving, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Nothing to plug, but we'll see how the season goes. I think that the expectation's definitely on them now. I don't think it's like before where everyone's looking over their shoulder. I think as long as they can just keep the ship steady, they should get over the line.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you. We'll take this jump cut right now. Kaboom. The dance is gone.
Ta-da.
We jump cutted right into pain and misery for me. Rúben
Oh, you
Amorim.
put an exclamation point.
Well, I just did that to be fancy. After the
okay.
Leeds game, which I was planning on talking about, he came out and said that he was the manager of Manchester United, not the head coach. And that would result in him getting sacked in the morning. And because you two are actually, I think, the polar opposite of rival fans when it comes to Rúben Amorim. Grant, you think he's a melon, and this was way overdue. And Mila, you've been kind of preaching that he deserves more time and that United should give him more time because of just the project in general. I even went back to follow the Ten Hag thing. I went back to our last episode where we had a United manager get sacked. And it was along the same boat from both of you guys, which is very funny.
It's the same. It has nothing to do, I think, with the managers at all for me. And it has everything to do with the managers for Grant. So I think that's where the big discrepancy in that is coming from. But for me, it's that the fact that the biggest complaint is that United has lost this culture. And obviously Amorim had his issues where he'd piss off the fans, academy, all of his press conferences and stuff. But with him and with Ten Hag, it seemed like they were both heavily trying to build a culture, and maybe not the United culture, but a culture at the club. And if that's the goal, you can't do that when you have a new manager every year and a half. It's virtually impossible to build anything, any culture. You're always going one step forward, 3 steps back, not even 2, because you're getting players for the manager, and then you're firing halfway through a season. Then you got to get rid of that last manager's players, have the new players come in, adapt to the new system, fire that manager. It's a vicious cycle. And as a City fan, long may it rain. You guys can continue doing this for however long. But just from a footy standpoint, when we're just talking about footy from a non-biased point of view, I think it's just foolish to keep operating like this, regardless of maybe you're just waiting for the right manager to come around. There's not many examples of that in world football right now. So yeah, I know we're gonna talk about who they may get, but I think the same thing applies for me, is that you have to let them build. You have to let them have their way with the team, or it's just, I saw someone say that they should just have ChatGPT run the club, and at this point you might as well.
Yeah. All right, Grant, the opposite side of the coin here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's long overdue. 100% correct. I think it's somehow, how did they sack him and it's still shambolic? Like, he's getting sacked because he talked bad about his boss, not because of the form. And I think that's what would scare me. If I were a United fan, I would almost be upset that he got sacked now of all times. I think they should have left him in Bilbao after that final. I think he could have gotten sacked long before that. I think the Grisby game was sackable. I think the Everton loss at home with 10 men was sackable. But, I mean, yeah, they're not in the best run of form right now. He's had much worse runs of form as the Man United manager. So to sack him because he spoke out, especially after seeing what just happened with Chelsea, they're in completely different spots, the two clubs, but they're being run a very same way, where it's, you need to follow these exact rules, exact guidelines if you want to be the head coach here, not the manager. And I don't think a lot of top level managers, like we always talk about, these proven guys, none of them will want to walk into that. Like, my first thought would be like a Maresca, oh, it's a great manager. Why would he go to this situation after what just went down, right? So I think that's where the real questions start to come, because, yeah, I don't think Amorim was a great manager at all. I think just off eye test and just watching them, how they play, yeah, this isn't going to work. But I do agree with Mila in principle of you can't build anything like this because each manager that leaves isn't leaving with something that you can keep and move to the next manager, the next group. They're leaving the team worse. Each time a new manager comes in, it gets left in a worse state. So I think that's really where it lies in terms of you can't build anything. It's because each manager is taking things away. They're not building anything. So it's really hard to build when you keep bringing in bad managers. And I think that accountability should be held by the guys who are hiring these managers or head coaches, as we should say. It's an important distinction.
It is an important distinction. I have fallen in between both of you in terms of this argument. I think since we've started it as well, we've been all very consistent with our ideologies when it's come to managers and getting sacked. And for this one in particular, I fall somewhere in the middle. It's sour and it's annoying as a United fan. I hate the chop and change. I wanted to see a manager get time. I wanted to see Ten Hag get time. I really don't care as long as United win. And the issue that I keep coming back to is they're not doing the things that winning clubs do. They just keep tripping and falling and hitting themselves in the face with the rake over and over again. And like you said, Grant, like they could have sacked him at any time. And I actually think that this is where I fault Amorim, because out of all of the managers of recent note to get backed, he's been backed the most heavily. I know it wasn't with transfer money, but in terms of public perception, Ratcliffe came out and said stuff. There was no leaks during his whole tenure. And because they didn't get Antoine Semenyo because he went to Manchester City, which is a better project at a better time, which he openly admitted to changing his formation for, which is a whole nother thing to this. He was unwilling to change his formation for anyone. He said the Pope. And then Antoine Semenyo comes into the picture and he's like, yeah, I'll go to the 4-3-3. That's horseshit, dog. Like, if you weren't willing to change for anyone, then don't say because you got one player because United were going to spend more money on a project you have no standing on. He was on a soapbox, right? That had cracks everywhere. His record's awful. We've strung together multiple wins one time in his tenure. So you can't openly go against the people that have backed you the most standing on those records, because they've backed him more than any other manager publicly I think I've ever seen at the club. That's what's annoying. And it's annoying because I think I had the same argument when we were in January of last year with Ten Hag, which is like, hey, this is a really bad time to do this because, one, nobody's going to take this job. Two, if you're putting someone in this job, it's the worst time to do it. Should you have waited till the summer? Should you have done it in the summer? Yeah. Now what do? You've got half a season to go right the fucking ship when United need Champions League or at least Europe pretty desperately. And all this did was confirm two things. One, the manager's wrong. Two, the board is wrong. And three, United fans and the club are going to get fucked because they're not spending any money because they don't have a manager to spend the money towards. We talked about how Pep Guardiola spent $200 million in January and how United should do something similar, right? To back something. They can't back anything if Darren Fletcher is the interim manager to the interim manager. There's no plan. There was never a plan. He spoke out, which is bad on him because he knew what the repercussions were. We saw it with Nuno. We saw it with Enzo, and he did it a week later. We knew what was happening. I saw the quotes and I was like, he's gone. I made a thumbnail. The thumbnail that's on this video, I made that yesterday. I made that literally on Sunday night because I knew it was over. And it's a joke. It's a joke. And I'll transition it to what's next because I don't know. It's Darren Fletcher for now. But I'll flip it back to you guys. Do you think that there's obviously been some shortlists that have come out, and you'll see every manager on planet Earth linked to Manchester United, but of the ones that you guys have maybe seen, is there somebody in particular that you think can right the ship, for lack of better words?
This is the main thing that confuses me with the United project is what is the goal?
To not suck? I don't know.
Suck it, yeah, but that's like you can get 5th place and not suck.
That's true.
So I don't know if you want to get the youth involved and try to build that old reliability from them. I think a Xavi is a good option. He has a good track record with bringing up the youth and utilizing them to the best of the squad. I think Glasner is pretty big option, but I don't necessarily think it would work. I'm not a huge fan. This is also why I just think it's foolish for both of your clubs to be sacking managers, because there's not a lot to pick from right now. When you're as big as a club, with the pressure that comes from being your guys' clubs, and the state that you're in right now, it's going to be very hard to find the right manager. So to me, it's really not a manager thing. These teams need to know what they're building regardless of the manager. And I think that's become abundantly clear that United don't really know what they're doing. Chelsea don't really know what they're doing. And the manager's getting scapegoated in a way, where regardless of results, both teams are scapegoating that manager, saying we haven't brought success because of this person. It's hard for me to say who you can bring in to write that when I don't really think that's the big issue.
Yeah, I agree with that part. I mean, just like you said with United and Chelsea, those aren't managers; those are head coaches. So I think that is another important thing. Like a Glasner who's butting heads with Palace, pretty much like threatening them to leave if they don't keep Gahey, do this, do that. That's not going to work at United. Although footballing wise, I think that would be a good appointment. I think both of these teams, Man United and Chelsea, they want a head coach. They have a whole boardroom of, in my opinion, morons finding players, signing players, recruiting them. They're running the whole thing. You coach. That's it. That's what you need to look at is who are these guys making these decisions? When you're held, you're essentially coaching with handcuffs on in these roles, these head coach roles that we're seeing at Man United and Chelsea. So I think that's really the scary part. It's incredibly unattractive to any manager because, again, I think Enzo Maresca is a really good coach. I think he'd do really well anywhere, but Man United and Chelsea are asking very similar things of this role. So that's not an option. And like you said, Mila, who's on the market and who would be willing to work under these conditions? So I really don't have a name. I don't have anything.
I actually think it's while the situation is primarily similar, I actually think they're completely different.
Yeah,
because
no, I do agree.
Because Chelsea have already decided that they want a yes man that is young and that can physically not tell them no. United aren't in a position where that's the case. Because there's no young manager that would get that level of leeway anymore. This Amorim signing and him becoming manager scrapped that project, which this is the big issue is United go from this end of the spectrum, right? This was Ten Hag, the big charismatic guy, the big leader, big club mentality. I'm going to sign who I want. They're my guys, right? They tried to overwrite that now with this Amorim era, which primarily the signings have been good. Ineos has signed good players. Like that's not an issue. And the profile of age isn't an issue either. Like how many bad signings has Ineos really had?
I think
Ugarte.
You've had like six out of 10 signings for the most part from them, which isn't terrible. It's passable, but I think this last window you've gotten they really got the signings right. Those pickups have been the good ones. I'm not saying the other ones are bad, but the really good ones have been more recent. But I don't know. I think those were to fit Amorim's system almost.
But I don't really see Cunha and Bumo and Sesko as like they need to be playing in a 3-4-3. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Cunha, I don't know where he plays.
Are
I don't know where Cunha plays.
Profile
left winger in the 10.
Better for Amorim's system.
I don't think he can do a job on the wing.
Or he plays as a second striker. He can play as a striker. That's the thing is these guys are actually moldable players. It's not like they sign guys that can't do the roles. It's not like the issue was like
Cunha. Everyone else, I agree.
Cunha's proven that he can play in the 9 this season. And I think that
he's one of those positionless forwards, and I'm personally scarred by those. I thought that inside 10 made a lot of sense. I don't think he's dynamic enough as a winger. I don't think he's creative enough per se to be a 10. You know, that whole dilemma.
I
think
just
nine's
highly
probably his best
disagree with
bet. You spent
everything you just
85.
said.
You
That's
spent
the this
85
is the
million on a striker.
yeah, but he's also a
So you can't
project
play him
player.
up
This
there
is
either.
the whole reason. Oh, no, they
Yeah.
absolutely can. They already have. Like, this is the thing is if they bring in a 4-back manager right now, based off of form, you're probably gonna play
I agree.
someone
up
out of
top.
position, right? And he goes out of and
Throw him up top too.
he can play up top. I just think that the players that they've brought in aren't necessarily the issue, and that any manager can
Mhm.
look at that as a collection and go, yeah, I can do something with that. The issue is now going to become, will they get back to that extent? Like, this is 2 straight windows where they're going to go into a January period and spend 0 money. And so while we talk about it as a 4-window thing, it's really only 2 because you're only working in the summers. And that's United for the rebuild that they need. It's not good enough. And
Yeah, I
so
agree with that.
when
But
I'm
that
looking at
comes from
managers,
you not having like the direction and the man. Like you're not spending in January because your plan is to fire the manager. So you're not gonna have you don't
Yep.
have a structure to build off of, which is like when the summer comes in, you have a manager in place. There's some structure to build off of. He's gone by January, and
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I mean, they also don't have any midfield players. I think to your point, Dylan, you did sign good players, but you're still missing very important positions, right? Like Casemiro's still
that, yeah.
33,
Glaring
34.
holes.
Ugarte's borderline unplayable. Mainu's free. Bruno, like you don't have many options. So if a few injuries come like they have, you know what I mean? It's dark. So there's
Yeah,
that. But
no, look, I think that the players that they've gotten are good. The holes are glaring, but the issue is if you're only operating half of the time in the windows, you're never going to fill all your holes.
they don't know
because they're
what
just gonna
profile
be,
to sign because Amorim's here and then it's another guy and they're
yeah,
hyper focusing on the wrong things, arguably.
that would be
Yeah.
my only where I differed last year, where I was like, I don't know if they should sign somebody because it was already so sour because they're in 6th and because they are so close to something. That's where I think if they were to go sign someone right now, like a Xavi or a Maresca, that makes a lot of sense to go do right now because you're in a position to build a project going into the summer. Then you've got 2 windows that you could potentially go and do something with. And even if not, Maresca and Xavi are probably both managers that could come in right now, not have to implement anything crazy, and go ahead and do something with the squads. Enzo,
I
Maresca, I'm a
disagree.
little.
I just disagree because of how unique Amorim's system was, and they pretty much have been hard coded to play it for 14 months. So I think
Yeah,
muscle memory is going to be tough to kind of recover from. I mean, they don't use fullbacks, they don't use a midfield, and then you have a guy like Maresca, like you said, it's different. Completely overloads the midfield with fullbacks. Xavi really only coached at Barcelona, the Barcelona way and the Amorim way, 2 completely different styles of football. So I think there would be an adaptation period or adaptation.
Yeah, but it's the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3 is something that's always worked in the Prem. That's not like some crazy new idea that's getting tested on the low. You know what I mean? And also, United have started to play in those formations and have looked good. So I know that they're hardcore to like play those things. I just don't think it would take that much longer to unwrite. It's not like with Amram coming in, he's teaching these guys that have never done that role to do that role. Like these are guys that have played in those systems, understand those principles. They've been doing it for 25 years instead of the last 14. And so that makes sense from doing it now. But if you were to wait, which I'm also not opposed to, if they just stay pat,
Back.
get a Carrick or Ole to see you out until the rest of the year. See where you fall. Like, look, if United fall out, that's on their own doing. But if you were to get Europe with one of those caretakers, and then you go to the summer and you get your kind of pick of the litter at any of the World Cup managers, right? You got Nagelsmann, Tuchel. He's in the conversation. I don't know. I don't know if he's actually in it, but Poch is in the conversation. Ancelotti is in the conversation. You've got 4 guys there that I think you could build something towards, right? And the only issue with that is if you do decide to wait until the World Cup window is over, you are doing business super fucking late, right, with a new manager. And that's the only downside to that is you're fighting for Tuchel or Nagelsmann's signature because there's not going to be a ton of clubs, maybe other than Madrid, that are looking for managers.
Yeah. I think you guys just need direction without manager. They should know who they want and like identify that player now and bringing him in regardless of who the manager is. It's a center midfielder, the 6'8" hybrid almost. Go get him.
It's
Like
Baleba.
identify him and go get him. That's who like they have on their short
That's
list,
the
yeah.
guy. It's the guy that keeps
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
linked, but they don't have the money for it apparently.
I know, but they
Bullshit.
need to go. They just need to go get that player, regardless of
agree.
who the manager is. Get
I
it
agree.
done early in the window. Don't even let anyone else come in and grab him, and then build from there. Then you have all the pieces, and then you can find the right manager with the pieces that you have. But to
Yeah.
do both, to say we need to bring in a manager and then build the ship, like I don't think it's not gonna work that way.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait to talk about tactically how they'll set up because they're still not back from AFCON. I am totally preying on Cameroon and Ivory Coast to just lose so bad. I just want my guys back, dude. And Manu and Bruno sound like they're close to returning. So we'll talk about the tactical setup in a 4-back that I assume they'll go to in the next episode because I want to switch gears to City.
We I don't know. We should have put that game away. I haven't talked about it on camera at all. I was a little too angry yesterday. It is just wasteful. It's basically what we talked about earlier in the season. We had plenty of opportunity to put the game away, but I will give it to Chelsea's defense. I thought they did a really good job of throwing themselves in front of the ball, kind of how I've been harping on City, just laying it all on the line to stop a shot. That's what I saw from Chelsea yesterday. I think the ref could have made the game a little less physical early on. I think there was some hard fouls that Chelsea got away with that kind of lingered throughout the game and made it the way it was. We end up with both center backs injured. Nico O'Reilly's gassed and injured right before the goal. So, I don't know. It was just the game played out the way the game played out. Chelsea brought the energy and got stuck into the challenges that they needed to, and I think that's really where they held on. And on our side of the field, like the offense has to do better. We have chances to put away. They got to do it. I think it was Cherky and Foden's worst game in a while, and for both of them to have that game, it's going to be very hard. So in terms of them not getting a substitution, I think there was definitely room for something to be done there. But we're lacking options. This is not an excuse. This is more of an observation. We are a small squad. We knew AFCON was coming. We knew the center backs we had. I feel like we all saw this coming from a mile away, and they're doing things to adjust to it. We could start talking about that, but I just feel like it's a little too late.
Yeah. I mean, this was our biggest concern when you guys loaned out the center backs that you did, right? Was that you could get to a portion of the season where there's an injury and then a guy like Victor Rice? Rice.
Yeah,
like,
with him,
could he be
especially,
beneficial
like,
right now?
I think the long-term thinking took over with him in that if we keep him this year, we're stunting his development. He's going to get the rare appearance in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and then if something like this were to happen. But I know for a fact that we talked about it heavily at the start of the season that I didn't want, or I don't think many City fans wanted to go into the season with Ake and Stones as center back depth. Gvardiol's overplayed. He's been that overplayed for two seasons. Diaz unlucky for the muscle injury, but this is what we have now. And the only person that I think any City fan is comfortable, not even any, there's a good majority that aren't comfortable with Kusanov, but he's the most reliable option we have right now. And then for cover, we could talk about Gahey, we could talk Max Elaine, just got called back from Watford. I don't know. Where do we want to start with those?
I don't know anything about Max Elaine other than he was on loan, and the guys at Watford seem to really like him. They speak highly of him, but
yes,
to throw a kid that none of us had on our radar back into the City side, that's a big ask for any player, and let alone a kid. Like, he's a child, right? He's like young.
I think yeah, he is young. He's 20. He's a center back. It's very rare for a young center back to make an impact immediately. But I think he just started to get a very like impactful run of games at Watford in terms of like shoring up their defense, and he's supposed to be very good on the ball and off the ball, just positionally. So those aspects are definitely going to help. I think they kind of fill in for what Guardiola was almost lacking in the last month and a month and a half. And then I think Gahey comes in for the defensive aspects that we're going to be missing. And I don't know. I think we have to make that happen ASAP. I really don't want to see Ake start any games if we're trying to win a title.
Yeah. I think Palace are going to cash in. I think that there's a bidding war on the table here between you guys. Bayern's out, but between you guys and Liverpool, that is on the horizon. And I think that if Palace, like, if you guys drop 50 or 45 or whatever it's going to be, because 35 is already the asking price,
No,
right?
they
And so
want
if you're
more now. They want more
right,
now.
they're going to
but-
start a bidding war, and you guys are so desperate. If you feel that there is a potential to win a Champions League or a Premier League this season, you have to go spend it. Palace are going to cash in. I don't even know if it's the worst thing in the world for you guys, because Gahey's a great center back. He's still of prime age. It just makes
you look
sense.
at him.
You'd have to
does make
overpay.
sense.
You'd have to overpay, but that's the game. That's January.
Overpaying for him now is still underpaying for him for his value.
That's true.
At the end of the day, like they don't want him to go for free, so they'll take money. They were asking for a little more money than he's maybe worth based on contract, but based on value, it wouldn't be terrible. He fits the profile of the type of player we want to sign. He's the captain of the team. He's just a leader built in, good in the air, physical. Like, he's kind of what we need, kind of what we're missing. In terms of, I think the aerial presence is one of the biggest ones. That's why I was begging for Victor Reich to stay. But just he knows the league too. So I think it's a very no-brainer signing. It's phasing out Stones and Ake, who are both homegrown players. He's English and, like I said, from the league. So it makes a lot of sense in terms of registration and the path that we're set on. And additionally, Guardiola's out for the season with the leg fracture.
Yeah. Grant, do you think that this is a must sign for City, or do you think that they, with the price tag, they should be looking somewhere else?
I hate saying this, but they're not Chelsea right now, right? They can't bring a guy back from loan and okay, yeah, you're fine. They're in a title race. So I think a guy like Gahey, even if it doesn't end up being him, I do think it's important, especially with the Vardiol injury being long term. Ake and Stone's chronically injured. You have to bring someone in who you can rely upon. You can't hope and pray that a 20-year-old kid figures it out. I don't think it's fair to him. I don't think it's fair to the rest of the team. I just think the Gahey negotiation will definitely be tough. They've been pretty stingy for almost 2 years now with him. People have been sniffing around. He's still there. I heard they wanted more than the 35 they were asking for, and City wouldn't go anywhere near that. But again, it's early in January. It's negotiations. I do think, like you said, at some point, Palace have to cave. I think they're set up well enough to where if you lose a marquee player, it's not the end of the world. And yes, it's your captain. I think it's a bigger miss than the other guys they've lost, just in terms of the context of their team. But yeah, at some point, it's probably best for them to cash in. So City probably need to get that done if that's the case.
Yeah, the Palace perspective is interesting. I mean, I look at them and your manager's leaving in the summer. You're sitting in 14th currently with 27 points, so you're 13 points above relegation. If it was me, if I was Palace, I'd be thinking, you're going to have to rebuild this whole thing from scratch. Getting rid of Gahey for the money that is going to happen instead of for free, just from a sporting direction, you just kind of have to do it.
Sell on clause.
Yeah. I think they have to sell in this January period.
And are they still in
Unless-
negotiations for Bob?
No.
Oh no, they got Brennan Johnson. So they spent money.
They got Brennan Johnson. They spent some money already.
I mean, they're also only 4 points off European or Champions League spots. Like, it's super tight right now. And if they win Conference League, that automatically guarantees you Europa, and they're a heavy favorite. So,
which is fine, but like Dylan's saying, you're losing your captain, you're losing your manager. It's not going to be an easy transition to.
And Europa
to
League will make it
continue
difficult in that
rising.
situation.
Yeah, you're
potentially.
definitely going to drop down in the race to improve as a club. They're going to have to plateau, maybe just plateau for a little bit, but I don't think they're going to improve year on, year out right now with the way this is going. So to shore up some money, like Dylan was saying, from a guy that's guaranteed to leave for free in 6 months, when I don't know. I think it's just a no-brainer for them to cash in on him.
Yeah, I also think that as the season gets later and his head starts focusing on where he's going next, because he can start to pre-agree with other teams, and the World Cup is on the horizon, I think his head will slowly start to drift in a different direction, and that might cause them issues and ripples in, their own right. But for City, it feels like they got to do something. You can't have the two major injuries. I mean, we watched Ake for the last 15 minutes on the watch along, and you can go back and watch it. It was horrendous. That was a tough watch.
I've heard some things. Dropped off. I know I've been a big Ake fan throughout his time at City, but in the last season and a half, his abilities seriously dropped off, and I genuinely don't understand how we went into this season with Ake and Stones as depth options. We had 5 center backs, 2 of them are those guys. That leaves, like, it's literally just Kusanov if one of these guys goes down, and both of them have now gone down. Stones has been missing. Nobody knows what his injury is. And Ake looked like he was hurt before he even came in. Like, even if we don't go for Gahey and we result playing Ake, it's not like that's going to be the solution. Even if he plays well, he's going to get injured within 2 to 3 games.
We've got multiple Premier League proven center backs available if it when in doubt, if you're in a pinch.
Maguire's out of contract. He's also hurt, though.
None of these guys, yeah. I genuinely think Gahey's the only option, especially for registration purposes.
Yeah.
I don't think we can actually go get any foreign player. It has to be a homegrown player, someone that either came through an academy in England or is of English nationality.
I honestly, I expect this to accelerate fairly quickly. I know the news came out today, and it was kind of buried in between all the United stuff. But with it coming out, that means that was tested. The water was already poked, and I think between Liverpool and City both trying to get him over the line, it'll develop pretty quick.
It has to, I think. I don't think there's any point of letting this one take all month to develop, because we need him immediately, as soon as possible.
Yeah. I before we switch gears over to Chelsea and the shit sandwich gets completed with sackings, I don't want both of our highest viewed YouTube videos to be players that didn't actually go to their clubs. Is there anything on Semenyo? Because the Xavi Simons is our second most viewed YouTube video, and he never went to Chelsea. so if Semenyo doesn't go, we're gonna get fraud watched.
With him, I think it's more so like what Bournemouth want and what they're waiting for. I've seen some people theorizing that they might just be trying to set up a replacement for him.
Okay.
And that hasn't come in yet, so they just haven't.
How does that work?
Been processed, but also
with the release clause, because isn't it like you just trigger it and he's gone?
They're probably just flooding him with paperwork, like, oh, it's actually this. You know what I mean? Redlining shit. Yeah. You can do.
There's actually nothing that says we triggered the release clause, also. So that.
Oh, it's just that he gave you guys the green light.
Yeah, you can just.
And they're trying to find a workaround.
We might be going for lower than the release clause. They might be getting an Ake, and we might be paying 40 million. So. If
also
we can
pay more with the structure,
adjust that somehow,
amortized.
But I think these injuries also put up the brakes on that a lot. If Ake is involved in this deal, in any way, shape, or form,
That's a good
this
point.
injury crisis that just come is going to put a stall on those deals, which I do think Ake is involved in Semenyo coming into the club.
It's crazy. I thought that was the only transfer that was going to happen right when the fucking transfer opened. We talked about it. Like, this one's done beforehand, and it's dragging. I wonder if it happens maybe right after this quote unquote festive period ends with the midweek games.
Yeah.
But
We
you guys
coulda
need
used
him.
so much in that Chelsea game. I think if we just had a
Goal scorer.
direct option,
Yep.
that could be. I don't know. Delco was really good when he came in, and I thought he offered what we needed. That Foden and Shaker were kind of missing in that game. And I know Semenyo and him aren't the exact same players, but I think the profile, in terms of what we needed on the day, they both would have killed it. It would have been the perfect pairing.
Agreed. Alrighty. Hour 10. We had a great guest. But Grant, we haven't had you on the pod in a week. And your club, right after your video, made the announcement. Let's start there. Let's start with Enzo Maresca, because you actually haven't been able to say anything on the sacking itself. You've said a lot of stuff about the manager and backing him and how they shouldn't have sacked him, or he shouldn't have left. But let's start there, and then we'll get into the new man that we have at the bottom there.
We are ran by dickheads. Is the simple way to put it. When we were talking about the similarities with Man United and Chelsea, I think this big similarity is you have these guys in the boardroom who don't know what they're doing, overreaching, overstepping. They're telling him, why isn't he rotating in certain players? When he hooked Palmer after an hour, he got booed, chanting at him. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's not even his decision. So again, from all the PR they tried to put out saying, oh, he's talking to Man City. Look at him talking to Juve. They also put something out saying they talked to De Zerbi this summer while we were in America. So again, what the fuck are we even doing? But like you guys said, one thing has been made abundantly clear. This is what we do. We're player trading. We did not beat the allegations. My interpretation was the summer would really propel us to start moving in a different direction, start acting like we are where we should be. And we did not do that. We reverted to factory settings. We're more worried about profitability. And I can be guilty to an extent, celebrating us fucking selling players. Like, it doesn't really matter in this current conversation, because the guys running the football don't know football. I think it should be made clear too. This isn't Todd Bowley. There was that whole civil war that was coming out last year between him and Egbali. Egbali runs this team. He's the owner. They have a 61% share, I believe. Bowley's is at like 12. So those are the guys running the team. They can't sell the team in the next 10 years, or from the time that they got the team to 10 years, but they can trade shares. So in theory, a Bowley could take over. But this is the direction the club's going in. I think it's a disgrace that they sacked the manager in this fashion. It's really, I just felt empty. Like I was telling you guys when I drove back home on Sunday, I was driving during the game because I didn't want to watch this shit. If I were sitting on a couch, it would have been on the TV. I would have found a way to watch. I made sure I was driving on the freeway across state lines to make sure I couldn't watch this game because I was just upset. So I'm glad we were able to pull something together. Again, I don't love celebrating draws per se, but just to show some character, I felt like that was important. The Chelsea of old sacked managers all the time, but they had a Lampard, they had a Drogba, they had a John Terry, they had a culture, they had pillars in their team. We don't have that. We have some very good players. We do not have that. So it's a dangerous game we're playing. And I also think, again, this was a guy we definitely could have worked with. I always had the feeling he was very Chelsea coded, Maresca. He had his faults, no doubt, but I think, again, we were trying to build something similar to what PSG do in terms of the football. So that's why you would see a Palmer in the left-hand side or a Gusto in the middle. Like, that's what we were building. I saw that, and I interpreted that as we're going somewhere with this. So it really does suck. And to go on to who we're bringing in, to do that to your sister club that you're like, it's so anti-football, right? It's just anti-football. This is why people hate multi-club ownerships, because of this stuff. And the counter argument is, look at all the money that's been invested. They wouldn't even be here if it weren't for
They don't
Blue
care.
Coat. That's not football, though. Again, no one asked for that. They didn't ask for a roof to be put on their success, although the floor has been raised. It's about the feeling, right? Facundo talks about it a lot when we bring up Arsenal's shortcomings in the hardware department. But the game is about that feeling. It's not necessarily, oh, well, look at our trophy cabinet. Like, you want to enjoy moments like that, and to just know it can all be taken from you. It's hard to enjoy. I would understand their frustration. Their captain is on a pre-agreement to come in the summer. Their vice captain, we bought him in the summer and loaned him back. So I understand their frustration, and we're going to have the interim manager again. Shout out Callum McFarlane. He's managing against Fulham on Wednesday, and Rosenior is going to come in on the weekend. It's just a fucked up situation, man. And it's all our own doing versus United. I feel like the difference is they're still trying to build something. They don't necessarily know what it is. We just saw success with this guy. Like, we just saw him be a key part in that success. So to actively say, no, he undermined us and we know better. Yeah, it's annoying. It sucks.
I think the big difference is that United's ownership group, like footy, they're footy heads. They might not be the brightest, but they enjoy the sport. They're trying to bring it back to the glory, but they might not know how to do it. And I think you put that in a good way. But they're investing in the area. They're trying to bring back the stature of the stadium, whether that's a silly rebuild or if they're just trying to, I don't know. It seems like they understand the culture a little bit, which is where you could give them a little love for what they've done. With Chelsea, it seems like rich businessmen trying to make, they're gambling. They're basically gambling. Let's be honest. This is if a bunch of rich guys went to Las Vegas and just decided to throw money on a roulette table. They're trying to maximize profits at every turn, trying to basically play the easy way. This is where the Strasbourg stuff comes in. It's a lot easier to just take from your own team. It doesn't cost as much. You can kind of dictate the negotiations. It's easier. The ego's not going to get bruised if someone says, no, fuck off. We don't want to work. We don't want to sell to you.
Well, their president might resign. Is the story that's out.
But at the end of that, what does that do to them?
Club.
They don't care about
They don't
Strasbourg.
Care. You're right.
Yeah,
exactly right.
So this is them being little egotistical rich boys, and like they clearly don't give a fuck about the footy, and I think that's going to be the major downfall of your club in the long run if this continues, because like you said, it's a feeling thing, and if they're going to ruin that feeling and they're going to take all the joy out of being a Chelsea fan, then it doesn't look good in the future.
Yeah, they think it's Brighton. They think we can get away with these guys that we need to play because they need to maintain value, that are 19, 20 years old, haven't really gotten a run in the team, aren't familiar with the league. It's the best league in the world. Like, these guys aren't going to be able to jump in, play a cup game, and then, okay, we can rotate him. It doesn't work like that, especially when now you have a target on your back. You have a giant gold badge right on the middle of your shirt. People are like, they're the world champs? Like, we want to go get them. Like, a lot of people are going to play you like that. And to just be like, okay, well, we're going to rotate in Garnacho this game, Gittins next game. Like, it's absurd. You can't run an elite club at that level. And although I do think a lot of these players have high ceilings, I feel like we've talked about this before. You can't just assume that that's reliable depth. We don't know what that is. And if you're playing at a lower team, you can play them for a long run of games. They'll struggle. They'll make mistakes. They'll grow. They'll get better. This is why loans exist. We know about the Chelsea loan army, right? It's very notorious. They loan out a ton of young players. That's what they used to do because they knew these guys, as talented as they might be, they're not ready yet to contribute to what we're trying to do. Clearly, the goal is qualify for the Champions League and make some cup runs. That's the goal. The goal is not to build on what's currently being built. So, yeah, I don't know what they want to do. And to just piss off Strasbourg like that, I think is really silly as well. Like you said, they're running a business. They had the amortization loopholes. They sold the club to themselves, the women's club. They sold the hotels. They did all that shit. And as soon as that got patched up, the expenditure has gone down. Right? They're just looking for new ways to really beat the game. And UEFA had some sanctions where it's like, hey, you need to sell to buy. So we're in this position now. It's going to be hard to get out of it financially speaking. We can't just throw money the way we did when we first came in. But yeah, they're running a business. We did not beat the allegations. I think the mutual departing of Maresca was the final say. Guilty.
Yeah, look, all the stuff on the multi-club stuff is on UEFA and FIFA and the powers that be there for me, because you allowed them to do this. And
businessmen will find out.
The repercussions that this has on what football is in general has always been super stupid to me, and I hate every second of it, because you rip Strasbourg from its core. You put in this just influx of money, which they've been adamantly hating the entire time, and now we're just promoting the idea of promoting from within. We're going to set up players. This Rosenior has been in conversations about potentially becoming the Chelsea guy for a long time now. It was like, we're going to put him in place here so that eventually he gets here.
Yep.
That's not how football works. I don't care if that's the behind the scenes stuff that happened in priors, but that's not how this sport works. You shouldn't be putting people in other clubs that isn't a loan situation. Like, I don't know. It bothers.
Let's be honest. That's what
bothers.
They wanted to develop a manager, just like they want to develop players. We're like, this is how they're looking at this. This is not.
I think
they're not.
there's
the way
teams that
nuts.
do that, but I don't think it's less like a written in stone plan. But I think it just happens to pan out that way. I think Company's a good example of that. Like, he went Burnley. He's gonna go prove himself at Bayern.
Yeah.
Probably gonna end up at City. But for them to have the game plan of, we're gonna send you to our sister club, and then let you develop there so that we can then rip you from them to bring you to our club, is ridiculous.
The Company thing is a good story. Like, that's not guaranteed to happen. Like, he might
that's
love
what I'm saying.
Bayern
Yeah,
so
it
much.
happens. It can happen. Yeah, but
could
it's
you
not
imagine
like
that in
they
any
planned
other
it.
major sport? Like, let's rip away football for a second. Let's say in
I
basketball,
could.
the Lakers decided to go put JJ Redick on the Hornets for a year so that he could come be the Lakers head coach the next year. That's ridiculous. It would never happen. That's not how that works. That's not sports. You can't do that. You can't.
You do it from the U21s if that's what your idea is. I mean, we've seen it in the past where you promote academy coaches from within. You have an idea, you bring in a player who's just retired. That's fair.
Absolutely.
Like, you're building a culture. You can't share theirs. They've got their own thing over in Strasbourg. The club has a lot of history. It's
their
played
fans
in
aren't
multiple
Chelsea
leagues.
fans.
Like, they don't give a shit about what Chelsea are doing. Like, so again, it's fucked up. And the worst part is, Liam Rosenior is caught in the crossfire.
Yep.
Like, and people are going to immediately be upset with him. He's a very young manager, and you could definitely argue naive. Look, I think he's a really bright young manager. I think there's a lot of potential for him. I think the Strasbourg job is really good for him, right? To go from, I think he was at Derby and then Hull and then Strasbourg. I think that's a really good career progression. He has no business being at the Chelsea job at this stage of his career. I think it's unfair to his development, as much as we love talking about fucking development under Blueco. And yeah, he's caught right in the middle of this. People are gonna be upset with him, and they have no right to be. I'm gonna back the guy, but again, he's getting thrown into a really difficult situation. Some reports are saying that he immediately said, "How much can we spend in January?" So there's glaring holes in the squad currently. There's many pathways to have those filled in the next 3 to 5 years, but I'm kind of tired of that shit. I think we saw what City are doing. I think Oscar Bob's a really good young player from their academy. Shit, we don't have time anymore. We got to go get Semenyo. Sorry. That's how these clubs operate. Clubs that are competing on every front. Like, even Arsenal, like Smith Rowe didn't make the cut, and Ketia, like, you're seeing guys like that. It's like, you're not good enough. Sorry. It's just beyond me. I'm so confused. I don't even know what to expect. It's just fucked up, man.
You guys just don't want to go win the league.
Yeah.
That's the main thinking with all of these signings, is how do we build to go win a league? You guys, again,
when do we do it?
Financials. You're not. It doesn't seem like you guys.
I thought we were ready.
That.
I thought with under Maresca we were ready.
I think a lot of people thought that, and one or two more pieces, but it seems to me that the ownership and the board don't care about that. They just want to profit max. And if that's the case, then you're not going to keep these good players at the club for long. This is what I
No,
said about Palmer.
Yep,
And that's going
you're
to
right.
extend to the Caicedos, the Enzos, even
Absolutely.
Reece James can get, if that'll be the straw that breaks the camel's
That would
back.
never happen.
The day that he gives up on
But that's the
whatever's
thing.
going
I
on.
can't blame any of them. Like, if
No,
we
you
keep
can't.
operating like this,
Yeah.
and Palmer says, "Fuck this, I want to go United," I can't blame him. If Caicedo says, "Real Madrid want me, they just won the Champions League again," yeah, I cannot blame him. Cucurella, he's getting up there. Oh, Barcelona got enough money to register me, and they're going to bring me back. Congratulations! Like, I would not be able to have any ill will against these guys. So, yeah, that's the real problem. I don't know what to even expect from Rosenior, and I do think he'll surprise a few people. But again, when we talk about tactics, this and that, it's similar football to what Maresca played. But I think character is an important thing too. A lot of these guys, they just won a world championship, right? Some egos maybe a little higher. That's what they briefed with Maresca, right? His ego was boosted from that. Are they going to? Where's this guy coached before, right? And I don't think those guys have the right to think that way. But that doesn't mean it can't happen. So I think that's really more my worry. I think the football, again, although it might be naive, I think there's very similar principles. I think if we keep it simple, I think there's definitely enough to qualify for the Champions League this year. But yeah, long term, I don't even know what to worry about, because are we going to keep doing this, or are we actually going to go, oh, this yes man's good enough? Like that. As long as those sporting directors or the 5-6 people in charge of making decisions are still there, I fear it's just the same.
Yeah, no. Chelsea are setting Liam Rosenior up for failure. This is a failure hire from start to finish. Like, let's just take away all the other stuff. Even if he is successful, the one person that he's going to be compared to his entire tenure is going to be Enzo Maresca. It's always going to be Maresca. It's the same pipeline of manager, except this guy hasn't proven it at any point of his coaching tenure. And look, there's a certain element of multiple losing streaks or going through bad form. This guy's got half a season with the team that just lost its manager, that just won 2 trophies, that had been building something, to come in here, right the ship, because the last month and a half hasn't been great.
Yep.
You're asking someone who's never been in a spot to do that mid-season? That's ludicrous. This is the exact same thing that happened with Potter. It's the exact same thing. Like, you're asking a guy to elevate his level to the standard of Chelsea. He's never going to meet it.
They're dropping that standard. Don't you worry.
I think that's the big thing. The big talking point is that the general public's perception of Chelsea and what we expect from them and their squads is vastly different from what the front office wants for the club. And I think that there's already protests. There's going to be more protests for sure. They're going to hear it in the stadium. They're going to hear it online. I don't think it has anything to do with Rosenior or the players. I know, Grant, you didn't watch it, but I saw it at the end of the game. The Chelsea players were super supportive of McFarlane.
Reece putting him in the front and all that.
Yeah. So I think they're going to back whoever, as long as they're respectful to the players and to trying to build something from a manager's point of view. But if they need the manager can only work what they have. So if it comes down to it and he says, I need this, and your club doesn't want to go get him that, they want to go get him 3 18-year-olds that have never seen the light of day, then you can't blame the manager or the players. I think you just have to hope that the board finally
they're all getting set up.
They're all getting set up. Yeah.
But I think it's important, like you said, someone needs to be there to galvanize the troops. And I think it's hard to ask a manager of such little experience to be able to get those types of characters on the same page. I mean, Reece James, obviously his performances have been top class. He's been fit for a while now, but I do really feel like he's starting to grow into that leadership role. I mean, every time he looks around, like, guys that have been there forever are gone, right? Like, oh wait, this manager's gone too. Like, you're just seeing all this chop and change. Like, he is Chelsea, right? He's from the academy, otherworldly talent, obviously defender. So I really think he needs to grow into that leadership role, like, even more so. He needs to become that sort of John Terry figure that we had, and that's huge fucking shoes. But the way we are operating, I have to look at players because I don't know who's going to be in charge next week. So it's a bad situation, and it's all our own doing. It's so unnecessary, so unnecessary. That's the biggest frustration.
Yep. Chelsea are still in 4 competitions, and his first game in charge will be Arsenal.
No, it'll be Charlton. It'll be
Charlton.
Charlton.
Oh, I thought you guys
Saturday.
played. Do you not play
New
Arsenal?
manager bounce is gone.
FA Cup, Charlton, because apparently that's why he's not coming in for the Fulham game. It'll be tough
so they can give him.
They give
Yeah,
him more
okay, so
time
you've-
to get a game
Never
plan
mind.
for the Charlton. But yeah,
when do you guys play Arsenal?
with no
It's-
Caicedo? I think it's like the 17th.
Yeah, geez, man. That's for him to get thrown into Champions League.
14th.
This mess on top of just you have to get top 4, and that's a battle now. Liverpool, United, Chelsea, all in that ranks. Like Villa, based off numbers, you'd expect them to come down a little too. Like
5th and 14th is like a 4-point
It's a
gap.
slog.
Dude, like it's dangerous. I feel like we've gone right back to where we were under Pochettino in terms of progress. I feel like the progress bar has gone back significantly.
That's a damning statement because that's the first time during
absolutely.
this science experiment of a project that's been said about anything that you've had remotely close to Chelsea. Is you feel like you're back to square one on a 3-year project, 4-year project now?
I don't fucking know anymore. It all feels
Yeah.
the same now because again, we've willingly moved the progress bar back. Is how I've seen this. It's
The
beyond
goalpost-
me. Yeah, we made it more difficult for ourselves. And again, Rosenior, I think he's a bright young manager, definitely a good football mind, but sometimes that's not enough. I hope he doesn't suffer that fate. I hope it ends up working out and he's our manager for the next 10 years and we win a lot of trophies. But the way these guys are operating, even if he develops into a good manager who can deal with these characters, what if he doesn't get a signing he wants and then he says something about his bosses? What happens? He's going to get fired. They'll find the next guy. So, yeah, I don't know what to think. You're on thin ice. It's crazy.
It is crazy. We're at 1 hour and 31.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
And we had a guest. Let's do our predictions real quick for the rest of the games. So we've got United versus Burnley with Darren Fletcher on Wednesday. I think United, with all things considered, win 2-0.
1-0 Burnley, Armando Broja.
Nice. Yep.
Let's get C.O.C. involved in a 2-1 win.
2-1 win. I think Cunha's the man of the match. I forgot to say that. Grant, you're man of the match for that one?
No, I think I said, Broja's
Oh, you said, Broja is just the goal scorer. Gotcha. Okay. And the man of the match. That makes sense. Alrighty. And then Chelsea take on Fulham.
At Craven Cottage?
Yes,
Yes.
at Craven Cottage.
I don't know.
It reeks of another draw to me.
It does reek of another
It
draw.
absolutely stinks of a draw. So I'm annoyed because now I'm going to give you guys that. You're going to call it, and I'm still going to call a win because I'm deluded. But
I was going to call a draw.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. And Reece James, do your thing again, King. Actually, no, he's probably not even going to start because, again, our medical staff has assured them that they cannot play him again for another 90 minutes. Caicedo's just going to be angry because he's not playing that Arsenal game. So, yeah, fuck it. Caicedo will have a good little game.
Oh, dude, this is so tough. I haven't predicted a draw.
How is
all year.
Caicedo playing in this game but not the next game?
He got
suspended in the Carabao for first leg Arsenal. So not Charlton, but Carabao,
it's like a
next two games.
separate ban.
Yeah, dude. The allegations are
I don't
caught
think
up to
that's
him.
how that works. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he accumulated in the competition?
Yes.
No.
I think so.
That's
Yes,
I
he
think
did.
because the FA Cup bleeds into Premier League matches. I don't think Carabao does. I think
That's
it's
so
the one
strange.
competition where it doesn't.
I think you're right.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 1-0 Fulham because I haven't predicted a draw all year, and I'm not gonna do it now.
That's crazy. Do you haven't predicted a draw?
Oh, I may have one time with Arsenal, but I don't do it. I rarely ever do it, so I'm not going to do it anymore. I'll stand by that. No more draws.
Let's go. Well, who's the man of the
USA.
match?
Anthony Robinson.
USA. Interesting.
USA.
Okay.
USA.
We don't do
I
ties.
actually changed my mind. I'm not doing a tie anymore. I'm gonna do a 2-1 Fulham win with Harry Wilson as the man of the match.
Oh, he's gonna score a worldie. I feel like he
Always
only scores good goals.
Yeah.
Already. And what?
He has.
Who does City play?
Brighton
City
at home.
Brighton.
2 draws in a row.
Brighton
Bad
don't like
things
defending.
happen. Yeah, they
Brighton
don't.
like
But we might be playing Ake Kusanov back pair.
5-2 City, Holland, man of the match.
4-2 City, Doku. Did every time we predict City to have these
Doku's
giant
gonna
goal
play.
scoring games, they
1-0.
end like 1-0?
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, let's see how my reverse.
I'm gonna go
jinx
3-1
United.
Rodri.
3-1 Rodri. Combined
Rate it.
12 goals for City. It's ending 1-0.
No doubt.
All right. Well, hour 35. Appreciate Dance Brendan coming on, speaking his Arsenal propaganda. It was a good chat. Like I said, Facundo, whenever Arsenal drop points, you're next. So hopefully that's next week. And then new managers. We'll get into all that stuff in the next episode and their tactical setup once we get to maybe see some of that. But we'll wait until then. Oh, gosh. I'm Dylan. That's Mila. That's Grant. I won't say what I normally say. This has been Clash of Clubs. This has been episode 79. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
2 words for him. Different gravy. Glorious goal! Wreathed in red. We're really seeing the most extraordinary finish here. On this day of days, has he delivered? Just magnificent! Potentially life-changing! That's football. Minute you let it under your skin, then you begin to make it better.